Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight to the Boston here, aka the King of Boston. Today, we're back for the 7th and final podcast in the 2014 MLB season preview podcast. Today, we're covering our playoff predictions, World Series predictions, as well as our individual award predictions, all that good stuff. And Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? It's Brian, and yes, today's the final podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the entire series so far. And like you said, today we're going to be going over our playoffs scenarios and our award predictions. So I'll go first. So I'm going to be covering the AL first. And my AL division winners, I have the Yankees winning the East. Now, keep in mind some of these predictions are going to go against what I thought in the previous podcast. Like, I don't know if I have the Royals winning the Central, but right now I have the Royals winning the Central. And then in the West, I have the Rangers. And then my two wild cards, I'm picking Oakland and Tampa Bay. I actually changed Oakland over Boston just a little bit ago because I was actually looking at what Ian said about Boston the previous podcast, and I decided to pick against them. So I don't know, he just doesn't like it very much. And then from the AL, my division winners I have from the East, the Nationals. I think that just the Braves' injuries recently, even though they're not going to hurt this team really significantly, I just think that the Nationals are going to be a lot healthier and they'll be able to grind a couple more wins over them. So I got the Nationals in the East. In the Central, I have the Cardinals, and in the West, I have the Dodgers, like I'm sure a lot of people do. The two wild cards, I'm picking Atlanta, and I also San Francisco because it just seems like San Francisco always has a bounce back year after they have a down year. So I'm picking right there. And then my ALCS, I have Rangers versus the Yankees. This is gonna be a really fun matchup. I think it just feels like these two teams hate each other. And in the ALCS, I'm gonna be picking Rangers. Surprisingly, I think it'll be a really fun series. Probably go to 7 games. I think that this is the Rangers probably one of their final opportunities to really make what they have right now, because it just seems like this team, after those 2 World Series runs, seemed like they really had a down year the past couple of years, and I think this is going to be one of their final years to do that with Washington and that group. And then in the MLS, I have Nationals versus Cardinals, which I was just thinking about this series. I wrote it down a couple days ago, and I was just like, wow, this would be a really amazing series. You got just tons of young talent in Cardinals, obviously anchored by Adam Wainwright, versus the Nationals, who have a bunch of young guys, but they're just studs. You got Strasburg, Zimmerman, Gio, Doug Fister even. So that's going to be a really fun series. I think that's a series that most people really want to see. And in that one, I have Washington. I don't think the Cardinals are going to get back for their their third time in 5 years. So I have the Nationals versus the Rangers. And for that World Series, I'm picking Washington in 6. I think that this is Washington's year. I took a pitch that was too good. That offense is probably going to be anchored by Bryce Harper, who I also think is going to have a huge year as well. So I have Washington 6. So that's my World Series prediction, and I'll let Ian get into his.
All right, so just run down my division winners quickly. In the AL, I got the Rays winning the East. I talked about it a lot on the podcast. I'm in love with this team this year. I think they're going to win somewhere between 94 and 97 games or something like that. In the Central, I was thinking about the Royals here, but I'm going to stick with the Tigers. The Royals' lack of pitching scares me a little bit to make me think that they're going to win enough games to win this division. And I think, once the Tigers get a little bit healthy, and I think that they just have enough talent on that team to be able to win that division again. In the West, I'm going with the Rangers. I just think the Oakland A's pitching is a little bit too injured right now. And although the Rangers are pretty banged up as well, I think that they have enough depth to sustain some of those injuries in a high-powered offense in that ballpark that I think they can get back on track this year and win, upwards of 91, 92, 93 games, something like that. And then for the wild card in the AL, I got the Red Sox and the Royals. I think the Red Sox will get second place in the AL East and take one of those wild card spots, and I also think the Royals will, win somewhere between 87, 88 games, something like that, and get one of those wild card spots as well. In the NL, my division winners, I got the Nationals in the East. I just think I heard a stat the other day that only in the last 3 years, there have only been 2 repeat division winners each year. So that kind of makes me think that maybe the Braves won't repeat again this year. Maybe we'll get the Nationals up there again, and they can get their second division title in 3 years. In the Central, I'm going with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are by far and away the best organization in baseball, and I would not pick against them. In the West, I'm going with the Dodgers. I just don't see a team, although I don't have a ton of confidence in the Dodgers, kind of repeating their success they had last year. I don't have a ton of confidence, or I don't see another team like the Diamondbacks or the Giants quite stepping up and grabbing that division spot. I could see both those teams contending for the wild card, though. But I'll get into that. My wild card picks in the NL, I got the Braves and the Pirates. Still think the Braves will win somewhere around 90 games and get one of those wild card spots. And I think the Pirates are going to sustain some of the success from last year, and I just like their pitching too much. So I think that they will be fine, and they will get another wild card spot again this year. And as for my playoff picks in the ALCS, I have the Rays moving on, beating either the Red Sox or the Royals in the first round, and I got the Tigers beating the Rangers in the ALDS as well. So that gives the Rays and the Tigers in the ALCS, and I'm actually going to take the Rays to win that series and have them go all the way to the World Series. In the NL, for the NLCS, I got the Cardinals over the Nationals. I think the Cardinals will take care of whatever wildcard team they go up against. The Nationals, I think, too much talent, and I think they will come through in the playoffs this year. And I think in the NLCS, yeah, I took the Cardinals over the Nationals. So I have a Cardinals-Rays World Series, and I got the Cardinals beating the Rays. I mean, there's 6 games out there. It's a pretty common number for a series of 2 pretty talented teams. So I think this is the Cardinals' year. I think they bounced back after a tough World Series loss last year. They have the young talent. They have, you know, the already MLB ready talent, the talent that's in their prime. Good enough pitching. I just think it's a complete team, and I think it's a team prime for a World Series run. And then Ryan, why don't you go ahead and give everyone your MVP picks for both leagues?
All right, so all my picks, 2 picks, just for no reason, but so for the AL MVP, I have Mike Trout or Evan Longoria. Obviously, Mike Trout just got the huge success yesterday, so that's out there. But obviously, the last couple of years, he's been heartbroken to run up to the AL MVP to Miguel Cabrera. So I think that this is going to be his year. Or, like I said, Evan Longoria, if he can be like the face of the Rays this year, like he should be. The past couple seasons, he's had some injuries that have really hampered his production. But I think this year he really helps carry those Rays into the playoffs. That they can win 94, 97 games, and if they do that, and if they're spearheaded by Evan Longoria, I definitely think he can win that MVP. And then from the NL, I have Joey Votto or Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper is more of my pick for the NL MVP this year because I was just looking at some of his projections this year. He's projected 325 average is something ridiculous, and I actually completely agree with that. I think that this is his 3rd full season. I think that he's finally going to be really locked in the basic NFL pitch. And I think that's really going to help him this year. He's really going to take a step forward, actually probably a leap forward. And I definitely think he can win NL MVP. Or Joey Votto, who's always turning a very good season. I think he always finishes at least the top 10 MVP voting, if not pretty close to the top 3. So if the Reds do end up making the playoffs this year, I think Joey Votto, if he does have a good year as well, he can definitely get that. But my pick for that is definitely Bryce Harper. So I'll let you get to your MVP predictions.
For the AL, I got Mike Trout taking it this year. I think this is finally going to be his year. I could see a little bit of regression out of Miguel Cabrera, just recovering from groin surgery and all of his injuries he had last year at the end of the year. And then Trout with that new contract, I think he's going to, he says he wants. He says he wants to win. I think this is one of the better Angels teams they've had in the last couple of years. So I think that they're a team I definitely look to as a team to potentially make a run at that wild card spot. And I think Trout's going to be motivated. And he's only 22. He's getting better. So I think sky's the limit for him this year. So I think he's the best player in baseball, and I think you got to go with him for the AL MVP. For the NL, I'm actually taking Clayton Kershaw. I don't see kind of a front runner for the NL MVP this year. I could see Votto doing it, but I don't think the Reds are going to be that good. I could see Goldschmidt winning it, but I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to make the playoffs. So I look past that. Maybe McCutchen gets it again this year, but I don't know if he's going to repeat. And I think just looking at the teams that I picked to make the playoffs, I think the best player out of any of those teams is Clayton Kershaw. And I could definitely see him winning it a la Justin Verlander in 2011 when he carried the Tigers down the stretch and into the playoffs and just dominated the second half that year. I could see Kershaw kind of doing that again. So that's why I'm going with Kershaw for the NL MVP.
All right, so next up, we got the Cy Young Awards. I'll go for this one. For the AL, I have 2 picks. I think Justin Verlander, he's going to get back on track this year, get back to his old form of 2012. 2012 was the year he won the MVP, right? Was it 11? 11, yeah. So, obviously before last year was a very disappointing year for him. I think he's definitely getting back on track. He's looked pretty good this spring, opening day starter. No reason that he can't win the Cy Young this year. And like I said, Chris Sale, I love Chris Sale. I love watching him. He's got some nasty stuff, some nasty sliders, and it's a lot of Ks. I think that those Ks really help him improve as an image for Cy Young candidate. I just think your percentage really helped you out with that one. You know how dirty your stuff is and how foolish you make hitters look. So, yeah, Chris Sale. The NL, Clayton Kershaw, that's an obvious one, or Adam Wainwright. I think no doubt he's definitely going to get it again this year, assuming everything goes right. But I mean, if he just has another one of those crazy ERAs like he did last year, it's no doubt. Kershaw's definitely the front runner. I would be backing for Kershaw, and I think Kershaw will definitely be getting it this year. So I'll let you get your Cy Young.
In the AL, I got David Price bouncing back. He pitched he regained his AL Cy Young form from 2012 at the end last year. After he kind of recovered from his back injuries earlier in the year. And I think, if the Rays are going to do as well as I think they're going to do, I think, Price is going to be one of the better players on that team. Definitely the staff ace, and I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think he'll bounce back. And, he is kind of playing not really for a new contract, but he is kind of in that stage where he's playing for an extension or, he's kind of playing for his value in the future, so I think that's going to motivate him. And I just think Price is one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I got to take him in the AL. And in the NL, like you said, it's really hard to pick against Clayton Kershaw, and I picked him to win MVP. So obviously I got to pick him for Cy Young. His best pitcher in baseball. I don't think there's any doubting that at this point. Whether or not he could regress this year, that's certainly a possibility. But I don't think. I mean, he's only 26. There's no reason to expect him to. So you got to go with Kershaw in the NL Cy Young. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that he's the front runner.
All right, so now we're going to be getting into our manager of the year's picks, and I'll go first. For AL, I have Ned Yost, Joe, and I think that's a pretty easy one. Obviously, the Royals in the playoffs, it was 20 years, something like that, and if he leads them back this year, Clint Hurdle got the manager of the year last year, and that's pretty much because he led the Pirates back in the playoffs. And I think that'll be the same case for Ned Yost this year if he can do that. Or Joe Madden, like you said, you're in love with this Rays team. If he can make this club win 95 games at least, he's definitely going to get some major consideration for the manager of the year. And then for the NL, I have two NL West candidates, Kirk Gibson or Bud Black. If both of these managers, or if either one of these managers can somehow put their teams in the playoffs with what they have, I'm usually in love with this Diamondbacks, but this year not so much. I feel like they made some pretty good moves this offseason, but it's not going to be enough. They don't have enough talent to really compete with the Dodgers or the Cardinals. If they win this division, I would definitely give it to Kirk Gibson. But Bud Black, I don't think the team's going to win this division. But if he can stand for a wild card, I should definitely get some major consideration. So those are my manager of the year picks, and I'll let you get into yours.
In the AL, I got Ned Yost. I definitely thought about Joe Madden here. But I think a lot of the time this is the type of award that often goes to kind of not the new kid on the block, but a sort of kind of, I guess, the new manager on the block, or kind of and Ned Yost is by no means a new manager, so to say, but I think Joe Madden is kind of a cliche pick here, and those guys never really seem to win it, because I think Joe Madden's been maybe the best manager in baseball for years now, and I think he only has one Manager of the Year award, so I think they're, if the Royals make the playoffs like I think they will, then I think it's got to go to Ned Yost here. I think, people will fall in love with that story of the Royals making their first playoff appearance since 1986. So I think Ned Yost is going to win it in the AL. In the NL, I think it's a little bit more open. I originally thought about Kirk Gibson here, but I don't think they'll give it to somebody who does not make the playoffs. If the Diamondbacks do make the playoffs, I think Kirk Gibson could grab it. But I'm going with Matt Williams here. Matt Williams is kind of that new face on the block that I talked about. He's the new manager for the Nationals, and if they win the AL, or win the NL East, and make the NLCS like I think they will, then I think Matt Williams is going to get a lot of praise for his work. So that's why I'm choosing Matt Williams to win the NL Manager of the Year.
All right, so now we're going to be getting into our Rookie of the Year picks. I'll go first for the Royals. I have Yordan Ventura. Looked really good this spring, and I think he's primed for a very nice year. 18 Ks, and he's only gone 20 in the third innings, and he has an ERA of 1.77. So I definitely think just being around the staff, he's got James Shields in front of him. He also has Vargas in front of him. So there's not really a ton of pressure on him to perform. He's only the number 3 starter. And I just think he's going to turn a really nice year, a really solid year for the Royals. They're going to need that if they're going to be in the playoffs this year. And then the Rookie of the Year, I have Cole Wong from the Cardinals. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time this year. I really couldn't think of many rookie of the year candidates in the NFL. If I had to take one, I would be taking Colton Wong. Maybe Oscar Tavares. I'm really not sure what his role for this club is going to be yet. I know he was sent down, and I don't know when he's going to be called off or when he's going to be called up. So if he does that this year, obviously Tavares can get it. But for now, I'm going to be picking Colton Wong. So I'll let you get in your rookie of the year candidates.
In the AL, I'm going to take Nick Castellanos. I think the three main candidates here are Xander Bogaerts, Nick Castellanos, and Yordano Ventura. And I think since the Royals' weakness is pitching, if Ventura really, performs like a lot of the young arms did last year, and he kind of comes that number 2, he's going to get a lot of praise for that, and I could see him taking it home. I also could see Xander Bogaerts taking it home. Obviously, I've seen a lot of Xander Bogaerts recently. He was fantastic in the stretch run last year. Struggled a little bit in spring training, and I think people are actually going to be underwhelmed by his stats this year. I think expectations are a little high. He's a guy that is definitely ready to play in the major leagues, but I think his ceiling is sort of where he gets a lot of that praise from, and I don't think he's going to be quite the player that everyone thinks he's going to be this year. So I'm going to take Nick Castellanos, who's having a fantastic spring, who's going to be relied on to help produce or replace some of that production that they lost in the Prince Fielder trade. And I think, if he hits 270 with, 20 homers or 15 home runs or something like that, I think that's going to be enough to take it home in the AL this year. And in the NL, I got Oscar Tavares. I agree with you. There aren't a ton of NL Rookie of the Year candidates, so to say, this year. At least not ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But I could see Tavares coming up in a lot of different situations. Whether one of their outfielders gets hurt, whether they don't get production at Borges and Jay in center field, maybe Matt Adams just can't hit lefties at the major league level, and they move Craig back to first base and bring Tavares up to play right field. Like, I could see a lot of situations where Tavares gets called up this year, middle of the year, to replace somebody, and I think he could have a very Will Myers type year where he comes up midway through the year and just grabs the league by storm, and kind of runs away with this thing. So that's why I got Oscar Tavares in the NL.
All right, and here's our final award prediction for this podcast. It's Comeback Player of the Year, and I'll go first in this one. I think the obvious one for the AL is Sizemore, who's hitting 333. There's no question. He's probably the front runner right now. I really couldn't think of anyone else as well. Not many people I can really think of who are recovering. Tommy John. So definitely Sizemore, an awesome spring and one that's turning off the Red Sox. And then for the AL, I have Angel Pagan. He was injured all of last year, pretty much all of last year, the Giants. And I think he's hitting 244 in spring this season. So it'll be interesting to see how he does if the Giants can make a run at that spot and if he can really be instrumental. There's no reason they shouldn't win the Comeback Player of the Year. But those are my two candidates, and I'll let you go on yours.
I agree in the AL. I think Grady Sizemore is kind of the feel-good choice. Obviously, he was one of the best players in baseball when he was healthy with the Indians. Injuries kind of derailed his career for a bit, but he's come back with the Red Sox this year, and he has looked fantastic in the spring. I don't know if he's going to, I doubt he'll play more than 140 games or so. I would, I think you can expect probably no more. I mean, I don't think you can expect more than like 100 games out of the guy. And even if he doesn't get hurt, it's going to be a lot of rest for him. And but at the same time, this is kind of a random award. It's hard to find candidates for this. So I think Grady Sizemore, if he does produce this year, I think he's the obvious choice for Comeback Player of the Year. It's a feel-good story. It's kind of like in the NBA with the Greg Oden thing. Everyone's kind of rooting for him. You can see everyone's kind of behind him on this. Everyone kind of wants to see him return to that, that former 30-30 type of form that he had in Cleveland. In the NL, I'm going with Brett Anderson. Like I said, it's kind of a hard award to find candidates for it, and I look at Anderson as a guy who is, really been hurt a lot in recent years. But when he's healthy, he's been really productive, and he was probably the best pitcher on that A's team for the last couple of years when he was healthy. And he said he feels good with Colorado this spring. He's going to make the rotation. And I think, even though his stats are probably not going to be that, look that good playing in Colorado, I still think he can perform and, try to regain some of that form he had before he, his career also got derailed by injury. So I'm taking Brett Anderson in the NL. And
all right, so that pretty much does it for this episode. Obviously, the final episode kind of sucks, but yeah, it's gonna be a good season. Maybe did a good job covering all these teams this year and these predictions. So I'll let you take us from here.
Yep. Thanks for everyone who watched all 7 of these. Appreciate it as always. Had a lot of fun doing it. If you guys are watching on my channel, go check out Ryan. If you're watching on Ryan's channel, check out me, I should say. I guess the links will be in the description. And that's pretty much going to do it. So thanks to those who watched, and hope we have a great season of baseball ahead. So thanks for watching, and peace, guys.